الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد فقال تعالى إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. My brothers and sisters, I remind myself and you that it is the right of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we as his ummatis must send salat and salam on him. The ulama have said that every time you hear his name you must send salat and salam on him, and the best of that is the Durud Ibrahim which we recite in salah, and it can be done in many ways. The minimum at least is that you must say sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This need not be said loudly, but definitely it should be said inshallah. This is the right of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on us as his ummatis. The benefit of that, as we know, there are many benefits of the Durud, but one of the biggest ones is that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who sends salat and salam on me one time, Allah will send salam on him 10 times. For every one time that he sends salat and salam on Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send salam on him 10 times. As I remind myself again and again, and you, whenever you hear these hadiths, try to understand it by putting yourself in that spot. Try to feel, what does 10 times salam from Allah, what does it feel like? For us, unfortunately, people like me who narrate these things, and may Allah bless all of us, we hear them over and over again. For us, they have become words. So we can repeat them n number of times. But do we feel it? Because Allah is sending, if I tell you, if you go out in the snow, you will feel cold. You can feel the cold. Even sitting in here, you know what is the meaning of cold. Yes? Because you have felt cold. So here we are saying that Allah sends salam on the person who sends salat and salam on Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam 10 times for every one time that he sends salam. What does that feel like? What is the value of that? Can you imagine somebody on whom Allah is sending salam? Will that person go into Jahannam? Is it possible? Allah is sending salam on you. Will you go into Jahannam? Will the fire burn you? So when we are sending salat and salam on Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let us have this istizar of the same. Let us have this understanding and the experiencing of this knowledge. The purpose of these classes, as we know, all my our regulars, please bear with me for a couple of minutes because we've got a lot of new faces here, so I want to do the opening very quickly. The reason why we do this and the reason why we call it applied Seerah is because of the importance of applying the Seerah in our lives. The Seerah is the Arabic word for biography. It is the Seerah of Rasulullah. The word means a biography, and in the contextual sense, it means the life of Rasulullah. So, purpose of applied Seerah is for us to apply it in our lives. Therefore, all of you, the older ones, as you know, the regular ones, you know that we are not doing the Seerah in the usual chronological sense. We are not saying Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born at this time, this happened. We are not looking at the Seerah in that way. We are looking at the Seerah from a very practical perspective of saying, what are the lessons that I can extract from the Seerah and apply in my life. The purpose of these lectures is not simply for you to listen to some stories and go home and feel nice. No. The purpose of these lectures is, at the end of the lecture, then we do what we call the action plan, which is, what will I start doing, what will I stop doing, what will I continue to do, starting from now. I did not used to do such and such a thing. I learned now from the lecture that this is important, therefore I will start doing it. I used to do this thing, which I learned now is the wrong thing, so I will stop doing it. And I am doing something, alhamdulillah, now from the lecture I have a dalil for this, so I will continue to do that with more effort and with more sincerity. For example, just now we mentioned the importance and the fazilat of sending salat and salam on Rasulullah. There is special fadilat of doing that on a Friday, but this is for something for us to do throughout our lives. Every day, day and night. Make this into a habit of yours. That let not, there is a hadith when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, do not let any time pass where your tongue is not wet with the dhikr of Allah. Right? So, generally zikr. Now, in that dhikr, make it into a habit that you continuously send durood and on Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You can do any kind of zikr, obviously. But here is one where you are also getting a benefit straight away, immediately. There is benefit in all dhikr. But in this one, for every one time you send salat and salam on Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending salat and salam. Allah is sending salam on the individual 10 times. So therefore, this is something we learn to do. So if we are not doing it, we should start doing it. And if we are already doing it, then do it with even more rigor and even more enthusiasm, inshallah. Right? Okay, inshallah. Now, we are on the section of the switch in attitude. As you know from the book, Seerah is the answer. There are 8 switches, 8 things that the Sahaba switched from this to this, from their previous state to the new state which Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught them. 8 things they changed. As a result of which, they went from being the least to being the most. They were the most oppressed, they were the least influential, they were the least liked people in society at the time, at the beginning of the Meccan period. But in a period of 23 years, and then if you add up the Khilafah to the end of, say, Sayyidina Osman radiallahu anhu's Khilafah, adding up another 2 years and then another 20 years, another 10 years, 10 and 10, then you come to a situation where they became the role models of the world, they became of the time, and they became the rulers of the time. Now, as we said, how did that happen? How did these people, in one single generation, because the people we are naming, Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu, Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, all the Khulafa Rashida, these were people of the same generation as Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So in that same one generation, it is not even a multi-generational change. The same one generation, we have a situation where people went from being the least to being the most. How did that happen? It happened by the following of the Sunnah of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now I am not even talking about the ajr of this in the akhirah. This is understood, we know Allah will give it. I am talking about right here in this world. Because today we live in a very materialistic society, we like to see things in our, what can I feel in my hand? So here I am showing you something which you can feel in your hand. Try it out and you will see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will change, inshallah, our conditions also. Today we are in that kind of beaten up condition everywhere in the world. Right? There is stress continuously. Any country you go to, the same problem. How can we change that? We have a solution. We have a tried and tested solution. We don't have to guess. We don't have to invent anything. There's a tried and tested solution. There is documented evidence. There is proof. You don't have to believe anything. Just read. And there is documented evidence of what happened. I'm not asking for any blind belief. There is documented evidence, and documentation is of such a high rigor and such a high standard that you can't even imagine. There is quite literally, I'm not even saying this as a Muslim, I am saying this as a student of history. There is quite literally no example which compares with the documentation of the ahadith al-Nabawiyya, the ahadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and the rigor and accuracy with which these ahadiths were collected and how they were kept. As a result of the rigor of the collection of ahadiths, a completely new body of knowledge, al-ilm al-asma al-rijal, came into being. The knowledge of the names of the people, completely new body of knowledge which never existed. There is no example like this. This is unfortunate thing is that we, may Allah forgive us, we do not give importance to the ilm of our own religion. We learn everything else, but we don't learn our own religion. We don't learn the basis on which this religion and deen is based. We don't have a deen of blind belief. We have a deen which is based on evidence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي. In Surah Yusuf, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was given this introduction. How do I introduce myself? Allah said, قُلْ, say, هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي, this is my way. What do? أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ, I invite towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How? عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ, with evidence, with proof, not blindly. With evidence. And who does this? Ana umani tabani. I do this, and those who make my ittiba do this, and that is why the work of dawah is a example and it's the proof that we are the muttaba'in and we are the ummatis of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam honored the Muslims by giving them the same job that he was said to do. Ana umani tabani. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored this. The kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now, we are looking at today the switch in attitude. And the attitude switch is really it's one of those, whenever I read all this, it strikes me how incredibly similar the times were between Makkah and modern world today. The only difference is in terms of scale. Makkah was one little town. And today the same values and principles and ethics and morals and structures have become globalized. Makkah, the attitude was me first. Me and mine. If I have it, I flaunt it. I must have freedom and you have the freedom to agree with me. This is the... The one who has power is the one who can never do wrong. Different grades. Culpability of a crime is not dependent on the crime, it is dependent on who committed the crime. If a powerful person commits a crime, no culpability, free. Abu Jahl killed Sumayya bint Khayyat radiyallahu anha. And he killed Abu Ammar, Yasir radiallahu anhu. What punishment did he get? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What he did was murder. Even according to the laws of Makkah, it was murder. It was not, it was not something which, if anyone else had done it, they would have punished him. But Abu Jahl was the leader, so he can do it. This was the me first. And what was the switch made? The switch made was they first. When I read the Seerah, one of the things which strikes me again and again and again and again is how this change that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made. It was not a gradual change. It was not a change which was in degree. It was a complete 180 degrees change. It was from this to this. Complete opposite. And that change was in attitudes, in values, in ethics, in morals, which is the most difficult thing to change. You can change people's behavior, but to change people's belief is almost impossible. But he did it, and he did it successfully, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is witness to this. So now, let me give you some stories from the Seerah of how this attitude switch took place from me first to they first. A man came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It was towards the evening, and he came. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm a Musafir, I'm from outside, I have nobody here, and I'm poor and I'm hungry, so please help me. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked, he said, who's there who can take this man who is my guest and feed him tonight, entertain him tonight? So one of the Ansar Sahaba, he said, Ya Rasulullah, I will take him. So he took him. So when he went home, his wife said to him, "We have nothing in the house except for a little bit of food for the children." He said, "This is the guest of Rasulullah." That's all. I mean, there's no argument and. So this is the guest of the Nabi alayhi salam. So he said to her, "Put the children to bed, let them go to sleep. Take the food, bring the food, and when you bring the food and set it out, then put out the lamp. So there is just the ambient light, and I will pretend to eat, and we'll let the guest eat the food." So that they used to eat, in one plate. I mean, this is also one of the ways of barakah of our system. One of the many things that we have lost. Eating in individual plates has no barakah. Eating in one plate, people sitting around. This is the Islamic way. That is what has barakah. Anyway, so they did this. The lamp was down, the guest ate the food, he didn't realize that his host is also not eating. And he left. The Sahabi, his wife, radiallahu anhu, and the children went to bed hungry. Now, who saw this? Huh? Nobody, except the one from whom nothing is hidden. So next morning when the Sahabi went to the masjid, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw what you did. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Quran about this." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Quran, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. In Surah Al-Hashr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned and said, they give food, they feed people in spite of their own love and need for it, and they give it to the miskin, they give it to the yatim, to the orphan, and they give it to the asir, to the captive, and they feed them saying that we are doing this only to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we do not wish for reward from you or even thanks. Now this does not mean they say it to them directly. It means that is in their heart. There's another ayat also which is among the asbab al-nuzul of this particular incident, wallahu alam. But again, that ayat is in Surah Al-Hashr, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "And those who before them had homes," that is in Medina, "and had adopted the faith, they love those who emigrate to them, and they have no jealousy in their hearts for that which they had been given." And this refers to the incident of the booty of Banu Nadir, which was given, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave it to the Muhajirun and did not give it to the Ansar. And they give them, that is, they give the Muhajirun, they give the immigrants preference over themselves, even though they were in need of that. Like in this particular case, the Sahabi gave food to the Muhajir, despite the fact that he and his family also needed the food. And whosoever is saved from his own bukhl, from his own stinginess, such are they who will be successful. Now, one point I want to make here before I go further. Today we are living in a world where almost any country you go to, there are refugees. Right? Who are these refugees? Who are the Sahaba? When we say Muhajirun, we are using a term, historically we are using a term of adab. We say emigrants. In your understanding today, who is an immigrant? Most of the people sitting here are immigrants. Why? How are you an immigrant? Because you came to this country of your own free will. You have homes in your countries, you have property, you have land, you have everything. You decided to go, okay, I want to go and live in America, I want to go and live in Canada. I want to go and live in Australia. There are better employment opportunities. There are better, quality of life. So I would like to go and live there. You came here of your own free will. But there are also probably, wallah alam, I don't know everybody here, but there are probably also people here who are from Iraq and so on and so forth, who came from war-torn countries. Are they the same like you? Did they come because they wanted to come to America? No. So what were the muhajirun of the Sahaba, who were they closer to, them or you? Please understand this, because this is a very important matter. The Sahaba did not decide, you know what, I think Medina has a nice climate, let me go and stay in Medina. I mean, Makkah is okay, but let me go and I go buy a villa in Medina with a nice date garden around it. Is that what they did? Every single one of the Muhajirun, illa mashallah, was a refugee. I'm saying this, I think it's very important to understand this, because then only you can understand what the Ansar did. The Nusra of the Ansar, the way they helped the Muhajirun in a way where Allah revealed Quran praising them. They were helping refugees, they were helping people who came with nothing. People who had a lot where they were. For example, you take Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu. He was a wealthy man in Makkah. He was a judge. Umar ibn al-Khattab radhiyallahu anhu came from a wealthy branch of the Quraysh. Uthman bin Affan radhiyallahu anhu, very wealthy man. Right? And there were many like this, who were wealthy people in their own right, but they left everything. They left everything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To retain everything, all that they needed to do was, don't say La ilaha illallah, khalas, no problem. But the moment they said La ilaha illallah, there was a price tag on La ilaha illallah. I remind myself, my brothers and sisters, today we have difficulty coming to the masjid for salah. Our price tag is only some laziness, nothing else. What else is there? In this country especially, you can dress the way you want, you can, people have beards from here till kingdom come, nobody stops you. I walk around like this everywhere. I was in Brandley International Airport, a lady comes to me, I was wearing a Mishla and all that also. The lady comes to me, she said, this is beautiful, this whole dress is so beautiful. Are you a sultan? Sultan. So I said, not yet, I'm looking for a country, I am available. Any free country which needs a sultan, please call. Yet we have laziness with regard to following our deen. How will we answer Allah, please? Where the Sahaba, they gave up everything. Musa ibn Umar radhiyallahu anhu, wealthy young man. Wealthy to the point where he was an icon, he was a fashion icon. He was an icon among the youth. Not only did he lose everything, his own mother took it away from him. Yesterday Dr. Teli was saying, if a stranger throws a stone at you, you don't feel the pain, but if your own son or your brother throws a flower at you, you feel the pain. It's a matter of who does it. Stranger, okay, you can bear it, but somebody I'm close to, his own mother took away everything, including his clothes. She sent him out of the house with a sheet to cover. All of these stories are nice to talk about, believe me. I am not telling you anything which you haven't heard 1,000 times. Anyway, anyone in Tabligh would have heard this like at minimum at least 50, 60, 70 times, right? You can be sure. One Seerah, 3 days, you will hear all these stories. Issue is to say what is happening to my heart when I hear the stories. Therefore, how do I treat refugees? What do I do with the refugees who are coming into this country? What do I do? I'm not talking about what does the government do. Let the government do whatever it's doing. Alhamdulillah, these governments are doing 1,000 times better than most governments in other places. But I'm talking about me as an individual, you as an individual. This is the lesson from Medina. How did they treat the refugees? The Sahaba, the Muhajirun came to the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They came to complain. What was the complaint? They said, Ya Rasulullah, these Ansar, these are strange people. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, what happened? He said, we go to work in their farms, they pay us, and then they do all the work. Huh? So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam smiled. They said, Ya Rasulullah, we are afraid that they will take all the ajr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, you make dua for them. And inshallah, Allah will give you ajr. You're talking about switch from me first to they first. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. When he passed away, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu took over. And as you know, there was this beautiful rivalry for good between these two. The closest companions of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu. There was this rivalry for good. So Sayyidina Umar constantly would be looking to see what is Abu Bakr doing, so I can do that. Radiallahu anhu. So after Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu passed away, somebody came and said to Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, there is this small camp outside of Medina, and we don't know who is there, we don't know what happens and so on, but what I know is that Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, every day before, early in the morning, first thing he would go there, he would spend some time in that tent and so on, and then he would come out. And he did this every single day. Every day. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu decided to go. When he went there, he saw that there was an old blind woman. She was sitting there on her bed. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu went there. He saw what had to be done, so he cleaned up the tent and whatnot, and there was a goat there, so he milked the goat, and there was some bread to be made, so he cooked the food. He did all of that, and then he brought the food and gave it to the lady. His lady is blind. When he gave the food to the lady said, where is the man who comes here every day? Huh? Where is the man who comes every day? You are not that man. Sayyidina Umar said, how do you know? You are blind. How do you know it's not the same man? She said, because that man knows that I have no teeth. So he softens the food and then he feeds me with his hand. You are just giving me the food, so you are not the same person. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu wept. And he said, do you know who that man was? She said, no. He said, no. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said, that was Khalifatul Rasulullah. That was Khalifatul Rasulullah. Eh? Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu saw a tent which was pitched outside of Medina. There was a man sitting outside. There was a sound of a woman in pain from inside the tent, and this man looked worried, and Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu went there and he asked the man, what's the problem? The man said, go away, who are you? And this is in the Khilafah of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu. He is the Khalifa. So he went there, he asked the man, what's the problem? You look worried and so on, what's happening inside the tent? He said, that's none of your business, go. Who are you? Why are you asking all these questions? Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said, no, I want to help you. There's obviously somebody in pain. So I'm not asking for anything, I'm asking to help you. Please tell me, what is the issue so I can help you? The man said, nobody can help me. I am alone here. I have no family. I have nothing. I have no experience in this. My wife is in labor. She is undergoing labor pains. I have no clue what to do. And I've got nobody to help. Sayyidina Umar said, no, don't worry. He went home and he asked his wife. Who was the wife of Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu? Kulthum, daughter of who? Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. Please understand, the Sahaba loved each other like brothers and sisters. Today we think this one was, that one enemy. False. Nobody is enemy. Why, if Sayyidina Ali was the enemy of Umar al-Khattab radhiyallahu anhu, you think his daughter would have married Umar al-Khattab radhiyallahu anhu? And his wedding did not happen after Sayyidina Ali died. Sayyidina Ali was alive because Sayyidina Ali became the Khalifa after Sayyidina Uthman. So this is happening in the life of Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib radhiyallahu anhu. He is alive and well. How does he marry his daughter to Umar ibn al-Khattab radhiyallahu anhu if Umar ibn al-Khattab was his enemy? Please don't just believe stuff. So anyway, he went to his wife Kulthum radhiyallahu anha and he said to her, do you want to earn the pleasure of Allah? She said, yes. Amir al-Mu'minin, tell me what is the issue? He said, take some, he said, this is the story, this is what's happened, this woman is in labor, so take whatever you need and let's go and help her. So Kulthum radhiyallahu anha, she took whatever was required. These are all stories which have so many aspects to them. Right? Today imagine if you are in a place where you can't call 911. Right? There's no ambulance to come. What will happen? Do you know what to do? If your wife suddenly goes into labor, does your wife know what to do? Does somebody else's wife, the sisters, do they know what to do? If a woman, suddenly you find a woman in labor, do you know what to do? I'm not saying you should do it. By all means follow the laws of the land, but nobody stops you from learning what to do. Even if you never do it in your life, learn what to do. Do you know how to apply first aid? If somebody's leg is cut, what happens? By the time 911, by the time ambulance comes, you'll bleed to death probably. Because you have no idea how to tie a tourniquet. You don't have no idea how to tie a bandage. You don't know how to sew a wound. Right? Because we never learn. These are things of tarbiyah which we must teach our children. First we also should learn all these things. We like to go and slaughter in Eid al-Adha. Can you skin a sheep? Things we must learn, become capable. So anyway, they went. Kulthum radhiyallahu anha went inside. She told Sayyidina Umar to boil some water. He was boiling water. She went inside. She's helping the lady and so on. He gave her the water and cleaning and everything else. And then meanwhile, Sayyidina Umar radhiyallahu anhu started cooking some food outside. So while that is happening, the lady gave birth. Alhamdulillah. Kulthum radhiyallahu anha called out and said, Amir al-Mu'minin, tell your friend he has a son. That is when the man realized who this man next to him is. He said, Wallah, you are the Amir al-Mu'minin. He said, you are the Khalifa. He said, yes. Helping somebody is one thing. Doing it in this way, where you are not even revealing who you are. Doing things with your own hand. It is not as if Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab did not have access to resources. He could have told somebody, go help them and so on and so on. At the end of the day, he is the ruler. And if Sayyidina Umar radhiyallahu anhu had sent somebody to do it, will you find fault with that? I mean, why should a ruler go and do things with his own hand? What is the need? I mean, he can do it. That is also good, alhamdulillah. A ruler should do that. You can't be helping everyone with your own hands. These were people who used to chase good deeds like we chase money. I must do it. I must grab it. This is for me. Ubay bin Ka'b radhiyallahu anhu was sent by Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to collect zakat. So he went to this place and there was this man. He had a whole lot of camels and so on. So Ubay bin Ka'b radhiyallahu anhu, when he calculated, one baby camel was due as zakat from that man. Right? One baby camel. So the man says to him, look, I will not give the baby camel. Instead of that, I want to give a female camel which is pregnant. Much more value, much better animal. He said, what will you do with the baby camel? That baby camel is no use to anybody. It has to grow up and everything else and you have to feed it. Instead of that, I will give you something much better. Now, Ubay bin Ka'b radhiyallahu anhu said, look, that is good of you, but I can't accept more than what is due from you. Now, think about this. Today, when we look at calculating zakat, may Allah forgive us. I remember one bayan of Umar Sahib Palanpuri Rahmatullah. He was explaining how people do all kinds of calculations, and they transfer money into their wife's account in the 11th month, and they transfer it back into their account, at the end of 12 months, so that they can say, well, 12 months didn't pass. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. I mean, imagine, who are you fooling? You're trying to fool Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Umar Sahib Palanpur Rahmatullahi was explained this whole thing, and he said what he had to say. So one man sitting in front, he said, Hazrat, मुझे समझ में नहीं आया. तो he said, अच्छा हुआ, समझने की जरूरत नहीं है. He said, I didn't understand. Umar Sahib Rahmatullahi said, it's good you didn't understand. There's no need to understand this. So I'm saying, here we have a situation where when you need to give zakat, you want to give less. But here, imagine, this is a Sahaba. He wants to give more. So he says to Ubay bin Ka'b radhiyallahu anhu, he says, take this female camel. So Ubay bin Ka'b said, look, I can't do this. I have to take only what is due from you. The man said, the reason I want to give it, I have never given zakat. Until now, I never had the money. Now, alhamdulillah, Allah has given me. I want to give something good. This one baby camel, what is the good of this? So Ubay bin Ka'b radhiyallahu anhu said to him, okay, I still can't take that female camel, but it so happens Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to be coming to this area tomorrow. He will be camping overnight. You go and meet him and you ask him if he accepts it, I will take it. So the next day, the man goes into the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he explains to him, he says, Ya Rasulullah, Allah, till now I didn't have the means to give zakat. Now, alhamdulillah, this year Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me, and therefore I request you, please take this female camel which is pregnant instead of this baby camel which is no good to anybody. I asked your Khasid, I asked your Sahabi, he is not willing to accept because he's going by the rules. But if you agree, then I would like to give this. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, may Allah bless you. He gave him dua and he said, if you want to give more, then inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it from you. Alhamdulillah. There are many, many, many stories. And I can tell you many stories, but I'm not going to tell you many stories. I'm going to tell you only one more story. And that story is about this country, our times. And the story is set in Guyana in South America in the 60s, early 60s. Place called Linden in Demerara, the state called Demerara, next to the Demerara River. There was a man called Nick Adams, James Nicholas Adams. At that time, Nick Adams would have been in his 20s. Nick Adams lived in Linden. He got a summons from a court in Quarantine, which is the other end of Guyana. It's the north, the border of the Quarantine River, which is the border between Guyana and Suriname. He didn't know what the summons was for. The court summoned him, so he went. 400 kilometers. We're talking about the 60s in Guyana. That was like an expedition by itself. I've lived in Guyana 5 years. I've driven in the outback. I know exactly what I'm talking about. So he went to Quarantine. Reaches there in the night. Next morning he is in the court. His name is called. The judge says, come here. As Nick Adams is walking down the aisle, he hears a voice from behind him, a lady saying, this is not the man. He turned around. There is some woman, he has never seen her, some young woman. And the judge says to the woman, look at him carefully. This is Nick Adams. His name is Nick Adams. He says his name may be Nick Adams, but this is not the man. Judge says, are you sure? He says, absolutely sure. Absolutely sure. The judge says to Nick Adams, sorry for giving you all this trouble. You can go home. So Nick Adams says to the judge, what is this whole thing? What is the story? The judge says, some guy got this poor girl pregnant. Now she had a baby and that fellow disappeared. And the name he gave was Nick Adams. So the only Nick Adams we could find was you, so we called you. But now the lady says it's not you. So it's not your problem, go home. Right? Nick Adams says to the judge, thank you for this, but I have a request. Judge says, what request? He says, my request is, please put my name as the father of this child and deduct the maintenance for this child from my salary. The judge says the maintenance of this child will be for the next 18 years, until the child is 18 years old. He says, you're crazy or what? What kind of thing is this? Why would you take this on? It's not your child, nothing. The woman herself is saying you are not the person. He says, go home. Why are you doing this? Nick Adams says to him, Your Honor, that child has to eat. How will he eat? The mother has nothing. So put the name of the child, put my name as the father. I know I'm not the father. Put my name as the father. And direct that the salary from my salary, the maintenance for this child must be deducted. And that was done. So for the next 18 years, month by month, year by year, Nick Adams paid maintenance for a child which was not his. That child, Nick Adams never saw that mother again. The only time he saw the woman was in the court. And he never saw the child. But he paid for her for 18 months because there were 18 years because there was compassion in his heart. They first, you first. But the Rabb of Nick Adams has more compassion. So in 2011, by then Nick Adams had moved to New York. He had been in New York for almost 20 something years. That's a long story. Someday I'll tell you the whole story. But he got cancer. He was in intense pain. But every time I would speak to him, I would call him, I said, Nick, how are you doing? He said, I'm very well. His wife says he is in pain, he is in, he is under chemo, he's got taking medicines for painkillers and all of that. But not one word of complaint. Never. And in 2011, 2 weeks before he died, Nick Adams, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him Islam. That's why I said he showed compassion to that woman. His Rabb showed compassion to him. And not only him, his wife and his sister, and all three were there in the same room. They accepted Islam. At whose hands? At the hand of Dr. Ali. Hazrat. I used to make dua for them to get Islam so much I can't tell you. The reason I'm saying all this is because Nick Adams was my first manager in Guyana when I used to work there. Allah gave him Iman after having been in a cancer patient in great pain and so on and so forth. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said this pain is tahura, it will wipe out his sins. 2 weeks before he is going to die, he takes shahada and he dies inshallah al-Mustan sinless in Jannatul Firdaus inshallah. His janaza was performed by Sheikh Siraj Wahaj in New York. And his son, one of his sons is a Muslim, that son was there. Sheikh Siraj told him, I will show you how to do the ghusl. He made him do the ghusl and he did the janaza. This is the reward. Even for people, because until that 2 weeks, Nick Adams was not even Muslim. And that's why I'm telling you, I'm giving you an example, not of a Sahabi, not of a Nabi. I'm giving an example of a person who until that 2 weeks before his death, he was not even Muslim. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows mercy to those who show mercy to others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hides the faults of those who hide the faults of others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives those who forgive others. Allah helps those who help others. My brothers and sisters, I want to end again with our action plan, which is to say, what will you start doing? What will you stop doing? What will you continue to do? So from all of this session today, all the stories of the Sahaba which we heard, let us look at what is it that we are not doing which we should start doing? What is it that we are doing which we should stop doing? And what is it that we are doing which we should, inshallah, continue to do? I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with you. I ask Allah to make it easy for you to follow Him. I ask Allah to open your hearts and fill your hearts with the noor of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu and the hubb of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to choose you for His path and to accept you in His path and to take you in His path. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease your difficulties before you even know they are there. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept your du'as, whatever you ask, and give that to you with afiyah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you more from His generosity and grace. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with you and never to be displeased. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.